Hello, I'm Dr. Katherine Horton. I would like to report, I would like to give an update, and I would like to report what happened today. So today I drove from Switzerland to Germany, and I can confirm that I'm still being shot at. Also, when I'm driving my car, I was shot at from Swiss cars mostly, but I'm also targeted still in Germany. So I was surrounded by German cars when I still felt pain in my head. So it's either German cell towers, people still say it's cell towers, or it's actual cars. But on the motorway, I can confirm in Switzerland it was Swiss cars that targeted me. So I've been shot in the head many, many times. I had intense radiation to the back of my head. And it's quite telling because inside my home I'm targeted one way, and when I leave the home and I'm actually in my car, I'm targeted another way. So when I'm sitting at my desk, this is why I changed position. You don't have this horrible reflecting foil behind me because it's still there, but I'm now sitting, in front of my whiteboard, which is also metal, so it's kind of protective. But when I sit at my desk, my forehead is targeted from certain properties and so on. And then it's certain parts of my forehead, the side of my head. Whereas when I'm in my car, it's sometimes my throat, and mostly the back of my head and the side of my head. So it kind of tells you where the transmitters are, or the emitters, whatever you'd like to call them. So that's one thing. I've been just microwaved non-stop essentially, and it's pretty clear that what they're aiming for is essentially neurological degradation. So this is kind of the negative news. I just want you to know that if this is happening to you, just please don't feel embarrassed or something. I think we're getting by the day, if not by the hour, a better idea of where these devices are hidden inside cars, how they're doing it. Please come forward with your own stories. As if you're a genuine victim, please add your voice. Otherwise, we will be drowned just by, you know how sometimes they put fakes everywhere. But please add your genuine voice. Do not be afraid, because you're now essentially accumulating critical mass. And I'm going to say a couple of positive things here as well, so bear with me. But I would like to emphasize just the importance of people speaking up. I'm so grateful. If you don't have the time or you don't feel comfortable with making a video yourself, you know what also helps a lot for other people to come forward and feel that this is okay to talk about these things, is if you make an anonymous account on YouTube and you just comment on my videos below, because people do read that. And in the beginning I had the feeling I just have spam bots, and maybe now the spam bots are mimicking real victims better, but I just felt so many really valuable contributions were actually, increasingly really good information was actually on the comment section below my videos. So please add that. And I have heard so many stories about people being, have their family members hurt, and sometimes people write to me in emails, so you can also write. My email is contact@stop007.org. And I encourage you, if you have some insight or something, please do share it. Also, I would like to encourage all victims now, and I will make a public appeal for that, but I'll encourage all victims to start writing up victim testimonies. Start collecting your evidence. Yes, collect the evidence. Do not be told otherwise. No, do collect the evidence, because there will be court cases. This will be reported to the police. Yes, the police will start doing their job, because they will not have a choice. And there will be court cases. We basically now have critical mass. There are now so many people public. We represent all professions. We have lawyers who've been targeted, engineers. We've basically got everybody now on board. They have targeted the entirety of our productive society. So I can tell you, and then more and more people come forward every day, and more people add their particular expertise, their particular experiences, and we're going to figure out what has been happening all these decades, and we're going to tidy up this mess. I promise you, this is what's going to happen, and we will also get compensation for people. So we will return to the rule of law, and we will return to functioning systems. That's what I'm working on. I'm not working on bloody revolutions or killing people or lone wolf attacks or some nonsense like that. No, we will get our institutions back, and we'll get them back in working order. We'll kick out the corrupt people. we'll shame the people for life, and we will return to, you know, functioning systems. And you can already check that this is what's going to happen, because already companies discovered how social media and the opinion customers have about them on social media is crucial. Because now they can try to censor social media, but really it's not that successful, because after all, you hear me, you know, and I hear other videos as well who say really, I mean, you know, I responded to a couple of videos saying stuff I'd never known about, and these people also do not get killed and their YouTube doesn't get shut down. So a lot of it is just to disrupt you a little bit so that you give up, you know. That's what the game is really about. It's kind of like blocking a couple of your Facebook posts so that you say, oh, I'm not going to be on Facebook because they're going to block me anyway. And then they blocked you twice and you have given up for life, you know. No, you go back and then you use Facebook to complain about Facebook. Do you see? And if they ban you, you can't use YouTube to complain about Facebook, and you continue. And meanwhile, you post your own stuff. So I basically, wherever you feel resistance, that's where you have to go. If one of your posts got blocked, post it again. Post it again under a different title. Post it on a different platform. And I also think it would be a good idea if we all become basically multi-platform. You know, I also have to upload my videos to other platforms now, so that if one account shuts down, our communication channels aren't interrupted. Okay? But I would like you to know, so from what I have seen, I can certainly see an exponential turn-on curve in the quality of information people actually give me. That has been impressive, in the number of victims who come forward. And I encourage you, keep coming forward, because the first step to actually start fighting this and also to heal is writing it down. You know, get it out of your system, put it down on paper. Don't worry, no one's going to kill you. Write it down, write down who has done what to you, and then start collecting evidence, because that's precious. Because even if you don't have 100% evidence, because a lot of it is very hard to show, you might have glimpses. You know, it's like putting a puzzle together. And whatever little glimpses you have, if we match them up with others, because there are so many of us, we can see the picture, you know, and you can conclude. And it's not true that you have to reverse engineer classified technology and prove it to the last letter to be given right in court. That is not how it works. And you know that this is not how it works, because if someone robs your house, right, you also are not expected to go and track down the robber who maybe took your stuff to another country, find out how he did it, how he broke into the window, how he took your stuff, and how he sold it, you know. So this is what you can basically tell shills by how hard they're trying to tell you that something is not possible. And I'm telling you, all of these are possible. It is possible to heal your injuries. It is possible to recover. It is possible to, if people had their marriages broken up, it is possible to recover marriages or find other love and find other jobs, find new jobs. In fact, we're going to interlink with other people who lost their homes, who lost maybe their childhood because they got abused as children, and we're going to repair society. And that's what we're doing now. And actually, as targeted individuals, I actually hate the term. I call myself a victim of the security services, or a victim of the secret services. So us victims of the, you know, secret service or the military intelligence complex, we're just a small piece of the puzzle, but we become powerful if we interlink, and we become even more powerful if we interlink with other people who have been hurt in other ways, but by the same people. Because these psychopaths have been doing a lot of evil things. And now, essentially, the hurt has woken up, and this is now the moment when the heads slowly turn and look at them. And this is what you basically see. So do not despair. If you really urgently need money, please make a crowdfunding website. Go online, open it. Do not think no one's going to donate. Yes, people will donate. So please open a crowdfunding website. If you're not targeted, and you're just wondering what the hell this is about, well, this is about the destruction of lives. So if you invest in the crowdfunding platform of a targeted individual or victim, what you're essentially doing is you're investing in humanity. And you have to know that the people in the highest integrity and sometimes the most intelligent, the most creative people have been beaten down by these psychopaths. So if you want your society to be repaired and regain its old glory and creativity and intellectual exchange, you have to invest in the most downtrodden people, because they are the most downtrodden because they were brilliant in their own way. So please, if you're an investor and you're looking into how to invest in the next big thing, don't go for some big frivolous projects, please. Invest in people. This is the 21st century. It is invest in people, because it is individuals who drive this. So that's what I'm saying now. So all victims who are really struggling, and by the way, this also applies for people who lost their home. And, you have to remember, in the US especially, I think last time I checked, there were 25 million people on food stamps. This is not normal. And I can show a plot of what happened to the food stamps. Essentially, it just went up, it exploded. And essentially, this 25 million, I was searching for a country that had that many people. I think, is it Spain or some other countries? I have to check the numbers, but or maybe it was 45 million people on food stamps. In the end, I figured out that essentially the entirety of the country of Spain has as many people as there are people on food stamps in the US. So we're talking really big problems here. Remember all the children who got abused. Some are still being abused. I've just heard that some are being held in underground facilities and all sorts of horrific, in horrific fashions. We need to find them. It's not just us victims, but we are all gonna interlink. We are all gonna interlink, and we're gonna solve all the problems at the same time. So this is what we're doing now. Okay, so don't despair, bear with us, and this is now, and now I'm going to tell you concretely what I've been doing today. So number one, I told you that I was trying to get through to people here in Switzerland. I was trying to report it to the police, and they refused. They have refused to investigate it for now over a year. And that was at first really really troubling for me, because I keep being shot at and so on. And today I really started making phone calls, and I had a breakthrough, because I stopped telling people just, oh, please help me, please help me. Instead, I'm saying, look, more and more people are being attacked. I want to get this done. I'm doing this now. I need your assistance. And I'm saying, look, people are being attacked. Yes, I'm one of them, but I'm solving it on a bigger scale. And whoever you're talking to, say that they are going to be next. If you talk to police officers, say, well, these microwave weapons, these electromagnetic weapons, they'll be used by criminals on police officers. So we are trying to have this wound up so that you don't get targeted. And then people respond, and that's what I did today. So today here in Switzerland, I just called up and down. I called the protection for here. They've got all sorts of, the Swiss are paranoid, so every house has got a nuclear bunker, so if you come to them and talk to them about threats, they do respond. And today I called literally everyone. I called my local cantonal population protection, and they were out of their depth, so they passed me on all the way to the military command, who then passed me to the military police, who then gave me some good points to follow up, which I shall follow up next week. And I wish I had just not been so cowed, months ago. I should have literally kicked up a stink like 6 months ago, but now I do. And the other thing is, I'm now telling everybody that this is happening to me, literally up and down the country, everybody. And I'm saying this is real, and we need to solve this problem. And I don't care how much I'm being shot at. I'm just going to do this. So today I just want to let you know that you can do this. And I think most countries have the same thing. So please, everybody, now start picking up the phone. And even if you don't get anywhere, you spread information. So if you can afford a phone call, start calling the officials again. Start with your local police. If they don't ignore you, just don't bother with the sectioning. If they try to section you, refer them to this video, okay? I've got material, and I can, maybe I should put my phone number there, and but anyway, if you have a problem with a certain police department, I can also just call them, and just make it clear that this is now being wound up. But if you don't get further with the police, try your there must be in every country something like radiation protection, just because of the Cold War, and it was all, ooh, radiation. If they don't know about microwave weapons, say, okay, you need to learn about this, because these weapons are not going to go away. So call the military. These are military weapons. So, the military is not actually, built to attack single moms in their own home. Even they have to admit that. So they have to get going. And as I said, even if they just consider you mad, it will register in their head. You essentially put an anchor in their head, and then they will trigger. If you put an information in somebody's mind, next time they hear it, they connect synapses. They remember, and they're like, oh. And if you hear something 3 times, you think, oh, it's everywhere. So you have to start seeding this for people to come on board. And I ask you all now to pick up the phone wherever you are, and you start making calls. And don't be shy. Just call everybody. The chief of the police, the chief of the military, call them and say, look, what's the plan now? How are we going to deal with this? You can say that you're a victim. You can also just keep it private and say, look, there are all these thousands of victims. What you're going to do about this? And just say it's all over the internet now. There are all these people going public. So what are we going to do in our country now about this? It's happening here too. Literally start making phone calls. This is like, right, today, we start. So, today's Friday, now it's the weekend. So on Monday, start calling these people. Maybe use the weekend to make a list of who you can call. Google the numbers. And then Monday morning, just hit the phones. Either in your lunch break, or before you go to work, or after work, or, go for a smoking break and just use your mobile phone to make phone calls. And don't worry about, but they will have my number. Who gives a damn? The Secret Service who's attacking you has your number and your emails and everything about you, so what the hell do we care by now? So that's the plan. So today I called all of them. And then the other big news I can report about is I got a reply from MI5. They actually replied to my email. They didn't reply straight away, but I think this was now the 4th time I contacted them over their contact field, and I think someone who must be spammed by my messages, in the end felt like they have to reply. So I'm going to read out the reply to you now, and it's priceless. I mean, you just have to see it, I will post the email on my Twitter later, but I will just read it out now. So they say, subject is website inquiry. And then in my inbox, it just said as the name from whom this is coming, it just said correspondence. So I thought, oh God, it's going to be spam, isn't it? And it just says correspondence. And then I just start reading it, and they address me as Dear Katherine, It's like they have received so many emails from me, and they have heard so much about my case. We're on first name terms by now, MI5 and myself. So Dear Katherine, we acknowledge receipt of your correspondence to this department and note your comments. Well, that's really good. The Security Service only investigates individuals whose activities fall within the remit of the Security Service Act 1989. If you feel that you've been the subject of improper inquiries or other actions by the Security Service, you can make a further complaint to the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, who are able to pursue these points on your behalf. The address to write to is, and then the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, PO Box 33220, London, SW1H, in case you want to write to them, 29ZQ. Yours sincerely, the Inquiries Team. And it says, please note that replies sent to this email address will not be received. If you wish to respond to this email, please use the contact form. And then it goes back. And actually, I didn't read the last line, and I was about to hit return. And as I was hitting return, I, the cursor just hovered over the word correspondence, the address of the sender, and suddenly, it's like it popped up as no reply at mi5.gov.uk. And it's like, it's priceless. These people are hilarious. I mean, first of all, right, you start, I mean, in a sense, MI5 is run like a really shit company, isn't it? I made the point in one of the FAQs, but essentially, in the olden days, I'm not sure if people remember, but there was a time when literally you called, either there wasn't a customer helpline for companies, or when you called, you got through to, you know, the worst dragon from hell. Or then they just told you how stupid you were and told you to get lost. And then that was it, you know. That was the olden days of customer service. And you know, actually companies have done a lot because they had to for survival to brush that up. But MI5 doesn't have to do that for customers. So they're just rubbish. And then they write to you and they're like, don't reply, no reply, no, we do not want your reply. If you want to send it to us, please go back to the website, you know, enter the captcha, and then, you know, if you haven't been scared off by then, you know, maybe re-enter your details, yada yada yada, and do that. I mean, God, it's shit. And that's just a start. And let's now move on to the content, because I mean, it's good that they note in my comments, because they'll keep coming. So the other thing is, if you feel that you've been a subject of of other actions by the security services, yeah, I guess when I got shot in the back of the head straight after my first court hearing in the London hotel room, yeah, I did feel that was improper actions. Oh my God, this is priceless. So, you know, like you get literally, I got shot in the head, like not even a dozen times, I think 24 times. And then, you know, like half an hour later, another 24 times, bam, bam, bam. If you feel that you've been the subject of improper actions, you know, it's hilarious. Okay, so it made me laugh, all right. I will keep this email, literally, I'll print it off and I'll hang it on my wall. So funny. But then the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, I mean, if you think this is a joke, then wait for the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, because as I pointed out to people, there are many, many things that are really, really odd about the Investigatory Powers Tribunal. The very first thing being the internet address. Because if you go to the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, I think you type, hang on, let me check, I think you would type www. And please go and check it out with me, because it's worth your time, honestly, IPT-UK.com, I think. Is that right? Yes. And now just look at the URL before you look anywhere else. I mean, the first thing that pops into your eye is this ginormous, like, all-seeing eye, right, on the first page, like one eye, you know, staring at you, like, yeah, you really struggle to put that symbolism in somewhere, right? Okay, but fair enough. But already the internet address, because it's like IPT-UK, as if they were planning to have IPTs like IPT China, IPT Germany, you know, and then .com, like a company, like a commercial enterprise, .com. Are you making money out of this? .com? Why? And this comes, I mean, you know, you might think, oh, they just picked the internet address, so what's the hoo-ha? Well, the hoo-ha is, or the hoo-ha was rather, that, for example, the Supreme Court of the UK, which, you know, to all intents and purposes is a proper court, you know, and by the way, it's live streamed as well over the internet, so you can see court cases live, and then you can go back and look at the footage for, I think, an entire year after. So that has got a big like from me, because you can go through, you can learn how the barristers argue, what arguments have been used in a particular case, you know, how did the judges respond and what was the judgment. That, I think, is an utter gold standard of transparency as far as I am concerned. But the Supreme Court is the total opposite of the IPT, and now I'm making very, very important points, because actually the Supreme Court, I think, spent £500 on buying themselves a new URL, and what their address was before was www.supremecourt.gov.uk. So government.gov.uk, and they changed it to just supremecourt.uk. And the point was that they wanted to make absolutely certain that people understood that they are independent from the government. They are not a sub-department of the government. You're meant to have the government, right? So you have the essentially like you've got the judiciary, and then you've got the, whatever you call it in English, sorry, I only learned these terms in German, you see, but the legislature, So, you know, Parliament making the laws, and then you've got the executive, which is, you know, executing the laws. So you've got this entire government architecture, you know, executing the laws. But the government, you know, those who govern and those who are also watch the governed, being the judiciary, are independent. And back then there were some complaints about, oh, but why did you pay £500? You know, but actually, frankly, £500 compared to the court costs there, I mean, that's what the barrister earns in an hour. It's like peanuts. But anyway, so they changed that to make it clear that they're independent. And I think that was a good thing, because symbols like that do matter. They do remind you that, yes, no, and also remind the people who work there, no, you're meant to be independent. So it matters. It really matters. Little things like that do matter. So we have, on the one hand, the Supreme Court spending £500 on a new URL to express that they are absolutely independent from the government. And now we've got the IPT with a .com address. I mean, that already looks a bit like, what? Did you just go on, you know, GoDaddy and find the first thing that was cheap? I mean, that's already a bit slapdash. But not just that, it makes me, that already rings alarm bells when it's .com. And there's many more things to ring about alarm bells about the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, to which, by the way, I have submitted a complaint about a year ago, so almost a year ago, you know, a couple of months short. And they literally, and I submitted my complaint when I was in a real panic, and I thought, I'm going to be murdered here. I started being shot to pieces. It was incredibly painful. These are cancer weapons. They shot into my head, into my eyes, my face, my breasts, everything. And I approached them in a real panic. But it was also extremely hard to collect evidence whilst you're being shot in the head. So I submitted the pro forma complaint, and I said, please, you know, I would like to prepare evidence, but I keep being shot in the head, so I'm asking for an emergency injunction or something. And also, by the way, no lawyer was willing to take my case, so you approach this thing with zero legal advice. And what did they do? They rejected my complaint. And by the way, it's not a court case, it's called a complaint. And this is a tribunal, not a court. Big difference. And they rejected my complaint as frivolous and vexatious. Well, shortly after, I essentially had my hip damaged by these bastards, right? I was shot to pieces, and that was just the beginning. Then came death threats, assassination attempt, non-stop mutilation, shots to my head, my eye got damaged, my other eye got damaged, my knee got damaged, my kidney was shot into, now my head keep being damaged, my thyroid was irradiated for several months, you know, damaging hormonal things and everything. Oh yes, and my ovaries were also properly microwaved over several weeks, you know, to top it all off. And the IPT said that my complaint was frivolous or vexatious. Instead of saying, okay, well, why don't you send us some evidence? They just said, they first of all didn't react, and after 2 weeks they just said, no, frivolous or vexatious. Like, what? Like, and you don't even get to know who the judge was. It was just, you know, a letter. Was there a judge? Or was it just, you know, someone's cat? Or who? Who decided that? No idea. So then, after that, I had literally my hip damaged just the day before in retaliation attacks. So I went to the High Court. And the judge said, so, you know, what's with the Investigatory Powers Tribunal? I said, well, I submitted a complaint, and they said it's frivolous or vexatious, and then I had my hip damaged. And then the judge asked the legal representatives of MI5, and they said, is there a way to appeal this judgment from the IPT? And they were like, no. What sort of court is that? It's not a court. What sort of, like, construction is that? It's garbage, basically. And then it just gets better from that, because even if you were given right, then, well, you know, the judgment gets published, and you might find out who the judge was who decided that. If you're not given right, which, by the way, for the IPT is like the standard, that's the default mode for over 99% of the cases, then you won't even get to know that. There will be no judgment. It will be just bugger off. I'm not sure, is there even like, I think there must be a letter saying, please stop bothering us, go away, you're frivolous and vexatious, or something like that. That's what I got. But otherwise, no information about who was the judge, what did he see, can I appear in person and actually make a case for myself? Like, nothing. That's not a court, that's a big fat asymmetry here. That's basically it. And from that alone, I already concluded, well, the IPT, the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, is a joke. It is basically a kangaroo court. And I do say that, having gone through that process, I do say that quite openly. It is a kangaroo court. But now I'm going to make it even more detailed by pointing you to facts and figures. It's on the top tab. It's the second one from the right. There's links and then there's facts and figures. Please click on that. And below that, you've got volume of complaints. Please click on that. And then scroll down, and then you've got these number of complaints received annually. And now in the year 2015, they were up to 250. I think I should put the link in. I think the very first FAQ I made was about, are people complain about the security services mad or not? And I made the case that if you want to find out what's normal, how many complaints do you expect, or how many people to be seriously damaged by these security services, with a valid point. If given that they're secret, we don't know much about them, but you can still make a quantitative assessment by saying, well, they're a human system like any other. So they will throw up problems at the gravity, or roughly, and certainly at the rate as other systems of comparable size, unless there's something that makes them brilliant, which we now know there isn't. Unless there's some sort of mechanism that makes them different, the first assumption is an organization of the same size should have the same problems, naturally occurring problems. And I made the point that British Telecom, or rather a national telecommunication provider, will have the same coverage, national, and therefore roughly the same size as a national surveillance provider, roughly. Unless you have got more detailed information, there's the case to be made that actually MI5 is much bigger than British Telecom or the entire telecommunications industry, but we don't even need to go there. Let's just say they're as big as British Telecom or the communication providers. Okay, well then look at how many serious complaints the regulator receives. And these are complaints that are so serious that the companies themselves couldn't resolve it with the customers. So then they complain to the regulator. And the regulator gets 300 serious complaints per day. 300 per day. Now, if you look at the first little plot that they show you here, that by 2015 they managed to get 250 per year. Hey, that's not right. That's like the number of serious complaints MI5 should throw up per day. Serious complaints where someone would have to intervene because the organization themselves, statistically speaking, would not be able to resolve the issues for natural reasons that occur naturally in all human systems, being people being stupid, misunderstandings, serious mistakes, stuff like that. But these things happen naturally. So that's the first indication that something is seriously, seriously wrong. The overall number of complaints is not what you would expect from a simple argument based on systems analysis of human systems. Where are all the other complaints? 250, and British Telecom has like 300, or more like, in the olden days when they had a monopoly, had like 300 per day. And you've got 250 per year. I don't think so. So that's point number one. So this is nonsense. So what it actually means is that serious complaints never make it to the IPT for miscellaneous reasons, or never get reported. Because remember, if people are not given right, the judgments don't appear. So how would we know how many complaints they really had, right? And they are .com, so heck knows what they do, Whew. Okay, so that's how to start. But then have a look. If you scroll down, you get all these like pie charts and bar charts and so on. Wonderful. But now, okay, number of open hearings. Yeah, that's the other thing. They can keep them secret as well, because they cocked up so badly that someone noticed they're not going to provide any evidence, right? But the other person has the evidence that happened to them in their real life, right? And that's the only thing that they can bring. And still, it's like, ooh, that's so secret. You can't show that in open court. Well, right, funny. Anyway, but now the real shady is still to come. So here we are. Scroll down, and exactly, if you now go down to the number of complaints, that is essentially a table, and it says number of complaints received and outcome by year. Okay, so in 2011, have a look at this. In 2011, there were 100, so sometimes a case carries over into the next year, so it gets received in one year, gets dealt with the next year. So they decided, let's look at the cases that they decided. 196 cases they decided in 2011. Out of those, 86 or 44%, they ruled as frivolous or vexatious. Now, and then another 72, another 36% received a no determination outcome. Well, that's already 80%. 80%, you just say frivolous or vexatious or no determination, like, hey? And I've just explained that these measly 196 cases, I mean, they can't possibly be the most frivolous, because there are, as I say, like 364 times 300 missing. So there are thousands of cases missing here that you should have received if you were honest in dealing with complaints, like British Telecom. Yeah, I had my issues with them as well, but it was nothing like MI5. So, British Telecom looks pretty decent in comparison. But we are missing these thousands of cases. They never make it there. So would you think that the ones which actually go through this complaint procedure are the most frivolous? Are those the cases where people say, literally, you just murdered my mom, I want to complain? Because I would expect those to be the really serious ones, not the most frivolous or vexatious. It's only when you make the essentially the intake, you open the intake, and make it really easy, and you just take, like, literally you get swamped with thousands of cases. That's when I expect 44% to be frivolous or vexatious. It's when you've opened the floodgates. But when you've got a trickle of just cases, you telling me that almost half were frivolous or vexatious doesn't sound right at all. From not even knowing who the judges were, so I'm not actually, slandering any particular judge here. I'm just looking at it from a systems analysis point of view, and I'm telling you, it's bollocks. There's some serious, mismanagement here, I think. And then it's up to you to decide who the mismanaging people or the corrupt people are. But then, look at, then there are 10% ruled out of jurisdiction. Well, I mean, you've got also MI6, right? So MI6 goes around to other countries, and when people like me, I'm being assaulted in Switzerland, come back to London, and I say, what's this thing with MI6? People are like, ooh, that's not our jurisdiction. Okay, so what, 10% is MI6 fraction or what? Oh, 6% were ruled out of time. Yeah, okay. 2% were withdrawn. Did they get a bullet to their head, like I had? Did they get shot in the head 24 times with microwave guns, like I was, after the first hearing? Because lucky, I didn't withdraw my case after the first hearing. I literally thought, now I'm really gonna go for the fuckers. But maybe I'm special. Sorry about the language. I just get so irate. But then, okay, so 2% were withdrawn. 1% were judged to be not a valid complaint. I mean, after you have 44% as frivolous or vexatious, what's the difference between not a valid complaint and frivolous and vexatious? Can you tell me? Because, hey? Oh, now I understand. Oh, I understand. Look at the words. 44% were ruled frivolous or vexatious, and then 1% were judged to be not a valid complaint. So it sounds like their judge was involved. Maybe that's it. And then 1% were found in favor. But that's just 2011. It's kind of lucky that there was even one found in favor, 2 cases found in favor, because if you add up the cases decided and separately add up the cases found in favor for the numbers you have here, 2011 to 2015, I found that there were only 10 cases. 10 cases. And you've got roughly 200, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You've got like 1,000 cases. 1,000 cases, and out of those, 10 were ruled in favor. 10 out of 1,000. So you have 1% ruled in favor, roughly speaking. That means in like 99% of the time, the IPT gives the intelligence agencies and all the other organizations that fall under it right. And this is after I've just explained that the trickle that makes it just there is like tiny compared to what you would expect. And out of those, 99% get cut down. So I'm sorry, just from a mathematical argument or statistical or systems analysis argument, I can say the IPT is a captured court. So, you know, the fact that MI5 says, oh, well, you can submit another complaint. Yeah, so that you send me another letter 2 weeks later saying it's frivolous or vexatious. And just like, oh, God, I mean, also remember how they phrased it, because they are cunning devils, these MI5 people. And they choose their words carefully. And they said, you can make a further complaint to the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, who are able to pursue these points on your behalf. Well, I would rather pursue these points myself, thank you very much. I most certainly don't want a captured court to pursue anything on my behalf, because I think I know what the outcome is going to be. I mean, isn't this priceless? So I just want to say, this is the sort of shit you deal with, and it's funny. But the point is, we don't have to deal with them. I mean, they have already rejected me. There's no point of appeal. So I've already been to the High Court, and the normal courts are the only way forward. We're not going to ninny around with tribunals that someone on a lazy Sunday afternoon has dreamt up and, you know, given it some, you know, crappy little email address. And then I don't know how these courts work. I mean, I think one of the judges, the second judge who heard me, Judge Edis, I've since heard that he's now sitting as a judge in the IPT, and I think, I mean, he looked pretty shocked when he heard my case. So, I mean, just from the shock on his face, I would say that he didn't really know about this, and he didn't look like he was fine with it. He didn't look like the kind of guy who would say, oh, people are being tortured to death. Well, fine, you know, so what's the deal? That's not the sort of guy he was, from what I could tell, but the question is he going to be given the cases at all to decide, or is someone else from MI5 going to rule these frivolous and vexatious before it reaches Judge Edis at the IPT? Because that's the real question. Because if you get, you know, this ruling, there's no judge's name on it. So who ruled it and based on what? In my case, they didn't see a shred of evidence because I couldn't submit it being continually shot in the head and terrified. Oh dear. Anyway, so this is how it goes. I've now made it public what the IPT actually is and the sort of responses you get from MI5. But hey, on the upside, I got a response. Okay, and given just what an ossified, deranged organization they are, I am amazed that they do seem to have an inquiries team, although you're not meant to contact them directly. Go through the contact form, and they do seem to have someone who can type English in coherent sentences. They don't seem to have anyone who actually takes this case seriously, because they have referred me to the IPT, knowing full well that I have, you know, tried the IPT, and it was after the High Court hearing that they shot me in the head. So, oh God, these guys. Anyway, the video is long enough. I hope you had some sort of information. For all the victims, please stay tuned. Also, the victims in the UK, do submit a complaint to the IPT. Nothing bad's gonna happen. Probably nothing good's gonna happen. But then when you turn down with frivolous and vexatious, there is no appeal from the IPT, so you go back to the High Court. So maybe just get this bullshit admin step out of the way now. Try the IPT, see if your targeting stops. But do not think that just because it doesn't stop, you can't go elsewhere. Oh yeah, no, there are many courts in the world. There's always The Hague. So, but maybe do submit a complaint to the IPT. Maybe eventually it will get through to somebody like Judge Edis, and maybe he will, certainly he probably will talk to other judges about what sort of cases they are now washing up in the IPT, and, the horror will not pass anybody by. So please, do not be discouraged by this stuff. If we receive resistance, we keep going. And look, after just 4 public appeals to MI5, I got a personal email back, calling me Katherine. So that's a step up. So we've got a long way ahead, but that's already good news. So stay tuned. Try to have a good time. Try to connect with your family and your friends. Also, if they don't believe you, show them this video. This is real, and we're all moving together. And also, most importantly, do not forget all other victims. Those who lost their jobs because of financial terrorism, their homes, who were abused as children. We all need to connect. And those people most certainly will believe what you say, because they have seen enough shit in their own life. So, connect with the right people. We all need each other. Have a good time, and bye for now.